For people on the
Tourette's?
stream that just saw that,
Killed it.
So now tell us what it is, now that you can dissect it.
Okay, you know what? It's dead. You just
Stop.
keep
He's dead already.
You keep banging on it over there.
I have no clue what that is. It looks like a firefly that doesn't have a glow
It might be a
stick.
firefly.
Was a fire.
Was
Was a firefly.
Rest in peace.
You've committed murder.
Yeah.
I got it. Did you see that athleticism? Did you see that? Did you see how athletic that was?
I didn't see the bug, so I didn't know what you're doing. I didn't know if you have a twitch.
Yeah.
Dude.
Good job.
Dude, I was like Hearn. I was waiting.
Chick?
I was waiting. Just who? Tommy, just right here. Just waiting. Just waiting. Yes. Overhand right. Ping, ping, pow, ping, 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 dead.
Come back and haunt him.
Nebraska is hiring Mike Eckler as their special teams coach, the pride of David City, who is here for 3 years under Bo. Will take over, and we'll wait to see what the contract is because Nebraska probably ponied up, and that's a good thing. To get a special teams coach who on Saturday, I thought, what are we doing with that operation?
Yeah.
I should be incensed by the special teams discussion. You know what? That's okay.
It's all right.
It's all right. Flaky Jake writes in when he hears the news that Mike Eckler is coming back home. He said, I'll never forget after the Nebraska A&M game in College Station, we were field level walking out, and Eckler sees a bunch of Nebraska fans and yells to us, how about those Big 12 refs, huh? Dan Beebe can go F himself. We all started cheering.
That's good.
I remember that night well.
Hey, that's the type of guy they're missing a little bit over there. You know, like they got
a little fire and brimstone.
They need some fiery. You know, you need some intensity. You need some.
Man, I miss him.
Let me tell you something right now. You need some coaches who are gonna get in players' faces, and you also need some players who can get in coaches' faces. There is a benefit to having some guys on your team that aren't afraid to tell the coach, "No, screw you." Or like, hey, no, I'm going to do it this way. Or, hey, I'm going to go and play. I'm going to play. Seriously. Now, if you have too many of those guys.
I got you.
Right,
Parcells operated that way.
It's a culture problem if you have too many of them, but you need a couple, and you need a couple coaches like that.
Confrontation is healthy.
All right. So what do you think? I'll ask you two questions here. Okay. First question, and this is, I love to do this. 1.2.5 million over under.
For a special teams coach?
Yeah.
No.
Okay. Well, you said the bag.
But consider, not that range.
Okay.
But more than
usual
that for a special teams coach. Because the general feeling was that he really liked Tennessee, and it would take a lot to get him to come back home because he's done this before. So I think Nebraska probably said, what will it take? What will it take?
So the highest paid college football special teams coordinator is Jeff Banks at $1.15 million at Texas. Mike Reed is $900,000 at Clemson.
What's LeVar Woods make?
LeVar Woods makes $700,000.
Okay.
In 2023, that number actually. So Reed got a raise in 2024. So in 2023, he was making $800,000, then he was making $900,000.
Mike Eckler made $575,000, the last available salary for him.
So the Florida State guy makes $750,000. John Papachuis. I know I said that name wrong. I know that's it. I said that name so wrong. I know who he is. I've just never said his name before.
Papuchis.
I know. I was going to mess that up. I know who he is, guys. I know who he is. I just said the name wrong. Okay. Papuchis. $750,000.
He said Papuchis.
Mm-hmm.
Papuchis.
Yeah, he did it well.
You know what? It's coming up on Lent. We'll have a Papuchis. Go to the grocery store and get us a Papuchis.
Is that an actual? Is a Papuchis?
Just get a little a punchki and a Papuchis.
Yeah. Then you can go to a fish fry. We got lots of them.
I know, because I know Papuchis is a Nebraska former Nebraska coach and everything like that. But I just did not say his name.
It's a Papuchis.
$750,000, Florida State. So you think he's above that or below that?
Well, I mean, it looks like they're still paying a tight end coach a lot of money. They do have a little extra money left over because you did not go through the stratosphere with coordinators, but I think he will be well compensated. I would not surprise me if he is one of the top paid special teams coaches.
I think it's probably at that number. probably around the 750,000 range. I think he gets that big of a raise to move his family from Knoxville to Nebraska, go from there to Nebraska. I think that's what it costs, and he gets paid. I mean, he's coached like one of the top coordinators. He'll get paid like one of the top coordinators.
This is going to tick people off around the country because people are going to celebrate this today. Hang the banner.
Chiefs already won?
Ooh, that's next Monday.
Oh, sorry.
I don't know.
All right.
As we start Super Bowl week, and
Are you getting nervous?
I'm not nervous, but this will be the toughest opponent that Kansas City has played. But I'm ready.
But they got Spags.
But I'm ready for the conversation that if Kansas City happens to win next Sunday, I'm ready for the big conversations. But I'm also ready for Media Day tonight where somebody goes, did Caesar really play here in the Superdome?
Mm-hmm.
I would like that question to be
I miss
asked.
old Media Day.
My other question after the over-under salary conversation was, do you think in that announcement, it's announced that Satterfield is getting a pay decrease, or are we just rolling with the $1.4 million tight ends coach?
I think that it is, if you are in the Matt Rhule circle of trust and you are named Ed Foley and Marcus Satterfield, you'll be taken care of for the rest of your life.
Okay.
Nothing negative will be ever said about you.
Okay. Because it wasn't a schematic problem. Nothing schematic about it. Was, when you have the worst special teams unit for 2 years, there were zero schematic issues. It was just because of the snapper, and maybe we weren't running hard enough. But no scheme. No scheme was wrong.
Do you think he was just trolling?
I think he was defending his guy.
He knows.
I don't think he was ever going to go out on the limb and say that Ed wasn't a good coach or wasn't good enough or wasn't the right position for him or anything like that. I don't think he was ever going to do that, because you're right. As long as you're Ed Foley or Marcus Satterfield, you're going to be okay. You're going to be safe.
You have been good to Rhule in your career.
Exactly.
And Rhule is going to be good to you.
Exactly.
So on the 3rd of February, the special teams coordinator is still listed as Ed Foley.
Look,
soon to be ambassador
and the
to
snapper is
program.
no longer. I mean,
he was not mentioned.
Yeah, he wasn't mentioned by name, but it was known.
But the old megabus just went.
Man, just backing up and rolling over again.
How many wheels are on this bus?
Reverse, drive, reverse, drive.
Did you run over him on the left side and then run all the way back around? Hey, get these other set of tires, bud.
You think we got him?
Bernie tweets at the show. He goes, I love the Eckler hire. Nothing else will bring a high level of effort and intensity special teams haven't had for a while. They're also, so Mike Eckler's coming into a good situation because I also think they have built their special teams back up through the portal. Not just a long snapper and a punter. They have gotten some return guys and some guys that elsewhere also played on special teams. So they've tried to fix that. The one thing about the offseason, and there's still like the intangibles that I'm going to look at, they have figured out what they need and have addressed that. Like there's not a position group where they've like ignored. They're like, oh, that was a glaring thing last year.
Sure.
We're not going to just let it be a glaring thing. So at least they have done that where they've coached themselves into options. But more on special teams. Bernie tweets in. I saw Frank Beamer talking about his great special teams, and he talked about schemes for blocking kicks was 15% speed and effort. We're at 85%. He always flooded his special teams with receivers and DBs. Good point, because look at where there are an abundance of players right now at Nebraska.
Sure. That is a great point. I have an interesting question for you.
Yeah.
So we were like the second Matt Rhule came in here, and it wasn't just said from him, but it was said from everyone that had reported on in the past was, look, year one is going to be a rebuilding year. Year two is when they take the step. Year three is when they make the big jump. I think we all thought, though, at least I thought, that heading into year three, it would be okay, we have the horses. We're ready to go. The system is set. This is priming for this team to go and make that big jump.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like with what they've done in this offseason, that hasn't been the case. They have done a lot in terms of roster reconstruction, talent acquisition, and coaching reconstruction and coaching acquisition, to the point where it's not so much that this third year is going to be a big jump because, man, they prepared the program and they got the boys ready and they developed and they're ready to go. It's going to be more so because they made a big swing in a big way in a lot of big places in order for them to take that jump to the next level. Now, they still do have the pillars of their culture, and they still have the pillars of talent like Dylan Raiola, like Ja'Cory Barney, like Cam Lenhart. The list goes on that they got in that ready. But their big jump that they could take in year 3 is going to be them going from 7 to 8 wins to 9 to 10 wins potentially because of the 16 guys they got in the portal and the new coaches they went and they hired. And I just didn't – that's not something I expected. I didn't expect this year 3 jump to be because of a big swing in terms of money and talent and coaching. I thought it would just be because, all right, we've been priming for this for 2 years. You know these guys already. We don't have a whole lot of holes to fill. Here we go, year 3. Let's have a big year. It's just an interesting contrast.
I could see that. Do you think they made so look at the roster the first 2 years. They didn't run people off when they got here. And they had a lot of guys that say, hey, Coach Rhule, I'm in it for GBR. I just want to go to a bowl game. And so Rhule didn't clean house. He kept those guys. And so they were a little bit older because he made a promise to them that if you stick with me, especially into the second year, because he said that he told the seniors that it would be a rough first year, but hang with me. I'm going to get you to where you want to go in year number 2. And so they had guys that kind of hung on that played, but
maybe it was time.
They hung on. And so then you get that top end of year 2 where you rewarded them with a bowl trip, and now you make the transition to you have more control over your roster. I think, and Rhule gets a mulligan. He's taken more control of his roster now than he's had in his first 2 years here, because I think he was committed, and I think the general premise in his discussion with Trev is you don't do that at Nebraska. You know, you're not going to run guys off. And then we sat down with guys were like, man, I'm in it, coach. I'll do whatever you want. And so he's like, yeah, I'm with you. Hey, we want you. We want as many guys here as possible. And now those guys have moved on, and now you have control of your roster. And so you have more guys that have been with you longer that they only know you as the coach. And so that's the only culture they know.
So do you think maybe because in Baylor and Temple, he cleared out the older guys and started playing the younger guys and had them, they struggled, but they developed through the games that they were playing. Mm-hmm. Do you think in a sense, because the first 2 years were a lot of older players and honoring those older players and honoring that promise and having them play, do you think that maybe year 3 at Nebraska could be more resemblant of year 2? Because the younger guys in the past programs that he was at, they got to play in year 1 and year 2. That's not the same.
You mean year 2, like at Temple and Baylor?
Yeah.
I don't know. No.
Because the timeline is off.
But I don't want to make these comparisons because
that's fine.
Nebraska is Nebraska.
Yeah.
I mean, I think Temple and Baylor are completely different compared to the beast that is Nebraska.
Yeah.
So I know that it's out there that year 3 makes that jump, but there's no guarantee.
Yeah.
Temple and Baylor are not where Nebraska is and in the Big Ten Conference.
And in terms of just importance and pressure.
The guard, the blueprint and stuff, yes, but it's a different animal. So I don't like to compare it.
Sure.
I'm just looking at year 3 here. He has more control over the roster.
Yeah.
And you're right. He and his beginning at both of those places where they really hadn't had success, he could do that.
Yeah.
It's not like Nebraska had success, but I think it was more the mindset of, we don't do that here, Matt. And then he sat down and he was a complete outsider. And all these guys are like, man, coach, I'm in it. This is all I want to do. And he's like, gotcha. We're fine. Just stick it in here and just stick with me and we'll get you there.
I think the staff is
he gets
much better than where it was.
He gets a mulligan because he's had time to assess the landscape of Nebraska, the landscape of the Big Ten, the landscape of college football, and adjust. He had to get off to a quick start. He thought the best way was a lot more familiarity. People were probably not in positions where they could have succeeded. Like Garrett McGuire probably would have been better as a quarterback coach than a wide receiver coach here.
Yeah.
And I think Garrett McGuire will turn out to be a really good coach.
Me too.
But he had to get started quicker, had to make some decisions on the fly. He had some upheaval on his staff. I mean, you have a tight end coach who was here just strictly so that you could recruit in the Dallas area, was not ready to coach at Division I, got in trouble. Yeah, you lost your defensive back coach. You
lost your D-line coach. You lost your DC.
I judge people on, we all go through adversity and we all have failures and we learn from our failures. Is how do you learn from your failure? Okay. I would say in the recreation of the staff, he's learned mistakes that, maybe held him back in the first 2 years. Now they fix those, whether it be your roster or guys with headsets. I mean, that's at least encouraging. And then you can start working on the other intangible stuff that has gotten in the way of Nebraska not winning games that has nothing to do with the Jimmies and the Joes.
I think another thing, too, that you have to talk about is I really do think this change in assistant coaches really is just the change of mindset. When he first came in here, the mindset was establish the culture. We have our own unique culture. There are unique things that Matt Rhule does that other programs don't do. He talked about it his last press conference. We make everybody eat meals together. We make everybody have every single meal at the training facility. We go to movies at away games together that you're required. We have team events, right? We have to establish, we have these super insane winter workout mat drills that are terrible, but they're going to get you better. We have to establish the culture. Heading into year 3, what is this year all about, Gary? It's about winning. They just got to win.
Yeah.
And so he got
I'm
coaches
glad that it's about winning
who are used to winning.
I'm over fancy press conferences where you tickle my loins and stuff like that.
You're done with winning the press conference. You want to win the game.
Yeah.
I think that's where we're at.
Well, I've said this for a long time. Matt Rhule is proven to be really, really good between January and July.
Yeah.
Like he does things the right way and is a good PR rep for Nebraska. But I need my guy that's in that role to be good from August to December. Okay? That's where he hasn't mastered that yet.
No.
The other part, he's done really, really well. But now it's time to work on August to December.
And you get paid for everything. You get paid for everything, and all those months compile, and they all have to do with whether or not you're going to have success. But at the end, you can be the greatest January, and I know we're in lockstep here. You can be the greatest January to July guy. But if you're not a good August to December guy, it does not give a damn
I don't
what
care.
you're doing before
Well, your
that.
clock is ticking then.
Absolutely.
All right.
But I'm going to do a real quick study here. I'm going to go back. I'm going to see how many years of experience this staff now has compared to the first staff go around. I guarantee you it's going to be tenfold.